Yeah, here we go.
Okay.
So here's the
Sorry, I just wanted to double check.
Here's how the Dallas Cowboys 53-man roster looks. Well, they say Tuesday, but we're gonna pretend it's
Wednesday.
Oh, quarterback, crack 'em if you got 'em.
Crack 'em if you got 'em, son.
So there's not much to say here. Quarterbacks: Dak Prescott, Cooper Rush, Trey Lance. We all knew that. Okay, Dallas Cowboys roster cuts 2024. Starting off with the wide receivers. These are just the cuts. We will then after look at the 53-man roster.
Do you want to just list the names and then any one of us can speak up, talk about a name that
if there's anything that's cuts out, like just read it down and we'll just talk about like one person on the team.
Tyron Billy Johnson. These are all and if they're waived, I'll mention that. Tyron Billy Johnson.
Give him respect, even though we cut him. Give him the respect.
Billy Baby. Sorry.
Tyron Uncle Baby Billy Johnson.
Tyron Uncle Baby Billy Johnson. Deontay Burnett.
Didn't know what number it was.
David Durden was waived. Injury. Cam Johnson waived. Jalen Cropper waived.
Who's back on the
practice squad?
The practice squad. That's what I want to say.
Calvin Harmon waived, and Racy McMath waived.
And everybody's talking in the chat. They hate that racist McMath is gone.
I don't think
racist McMath.
Yeah.
What a terrible name for the guy.
Bloodbath McMath.
Bloodbath.
But
you know what? He was Trey Lance's #1 target outside of Flournoy.
He had some
opposite the other team, you mean?
Yeah.
Opposite the time he was throwing end zone interceptions or pick sixes. Yeah, it was McMath. But Jalen Cropper, like Ad said, guy that we watched in camp do pretty well. He got his name in the practice squad. So nothing other than that really jumps out to me.
He's telling everyone, hey, well, Dalvin Cook signed in the practice squad, so the practice squad's not that bad.
It's not a bad thing, man. It really isn't. You build your guys down there.
No, and Jalen Cropper, I think, is a second-year undrafted free agent. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's pretty good, man. Like that's right where you want this guy to be. There's guys like Miles Austin that lived on the practice squad who showed hope at training camp multiple years, and then they cracked the roster later on. So just because he's on the practice squad doesn't mean he's not necessarily even going to get playing time this year. One injury, he's out of all those guys listed there, he's the next guy up if somebody gets hurt.
Nah,
I think so.
Calvin Harmon's also on the practice squad. Chat's telling me.
And Harmon, he kind of showed glimpses. He came in. We didn't see him at camp. He wasn't on the team yet. He wasn't in our little booklet, so we didn't see much of him. So during the first preseason game we watched, I was like, who the fuck is 80?
But that's kind of a good thing, right? Where you're noticing a guy, we're looking at our little black book, we can't see his number, and we're like, who's this stud out there catching football?
Who the is this guy?
Okay, let's move down to running backs then.
The only other guy I want to mention is Tyron Uncle Baby Billy Johnson. He was playing a lot. He was getting a lot of time on the field. He was being utilized. I don't know if that actually happened in any preseason games, but definitely during the practice, he was taking some punt returns and kick returns. Not obviously it was training camp, so they're not doing a full return, but he was in that position. So they see something in him, but I guess he just doesn't have enough to actually contribute to a team. And funny enough, because of how much he was playing, I thought he would be waived, but he's just a regular old cut.
Wide receivers, this is where it gets a little interesting because it could have went a bunch of ways. You have CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, Jalen Tolbert, Kevontae Turpin, Jalen Brooks, and Ryan Flournoy. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Well, I'm actually really surprised that because they didn't play. They played Brooks, I think, in the first game, and then I didn't really see him on the field too much
because they knew he was going to be. They knew they were keeping him.
They knew they were keeping him.
And then Flournoy must have beat out Cropper and badass Billy Johnson.
He did. You got to say, what did Flournoy have?
You didn't know?
He had, 3 touchdowns in the preseason? At least 2. He had 2 against
Flournoy?
He had 2 against the Chargers. Like, he made the most of the preseason games when the other guys didn't.
And this is the weird bias that I had in my mind because he didn't really perform well when we went and saw them at training camp.
He had a couple drops,
couple stinkers, couple. Maybe he had better moments than his worst moments, but I remembered his worst moments.
We met his parents.
We met his parents. Flournoy.
I got 3 photos of him on
Naked?
the film camera.
Oh, on the film camera.
And Botchi got his autograph.
Yeah.
So I mean, we're Flournoy guys.
No, but my point just being very surprising that he made it. But
You thought Cropper. We
we
all
all thought Cropper. We all
looks
thought-
like you could be a Cowboys player.
But I love the undrafted rookie wide receiver free story. I guess is not a free agent.
well,
now,
he was drafted though. He got drafted this year.
Oh, he did. Sorry,
He got drafted, I think, in
But
the sixth
sixth round.
round.
Yeah,
late draft.
the interesting thing, and obviously they do. Again, Ryan Flanoy, the chemistry with him and Dak, at least when we were there during that week, wasn't as hefty as, let's say, Dak and like Jalen Cropper. But Trey Lance, like Ryan Flanoy was his guy to go to.
It was.
So that possibly elevated him past Cropper. I actually think he has a good shot to challenge some more rep times. I think Flanoy will probably do a bit more than Brooks and even Turpin. I mean, Turpin's obviously there.
I don't think you're going to see much from Jalen Brooks or Flanoy much this year.
You don't think so?
No.
Do you think
If Jalen Tolbert doesn't show up, I think we will.
Tolbert's a 3. He's getting.
Yeah, but if Jalen Tolbert doesn't show up, which he has in the last,
Flanoy's stats for 2020, and this I'm going to go on record 2024.
Yep.
His stats are going to be.
before you do that, hang on, because I don't want to be.
Crack him if you got him.
son.
Ryan Flanoy's stats for 2024 are going to be like 7 catches for 68 yards. That's what his stats are going to be.
That sucks, dude.
Not in one game. That's season.
That season, I just don't see much more unless there's barring injuries, right? Barring injuries.
I think the interesting factor here is Kevontae Turpin.
Turpentine.
Will he be used is he in the wide receiver group because they need him to be there for kick and punt returns, or is he actually going to have some more plays? I'd like to see
fourth. He's your four. He's your wide receiver 4 there.
Right, but we haven't seen anything yet that they've actually utilized him in that.
But a wide receiver 4, realistically, like if you think back to say 2021 when you had Michael Gallup. Okay, I'm not actually, now that I'm talking through it, you had Michael Gallup, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, and Seti to Enti. But even if you look at Seti's yards or that, like I could see.
We love Seti the Enti.
And I could see Kevontae Turpin matching the stats that he had that year.
That would be great.
It was only like 500 yards. He had a lot of touchdowns, but it was like 500 yards, like 8 touchdowns.
Yeah, Travis O'Shea is kind of backing up what Ant's saying. Won't see much of Brooks or Flanoy just because of the tight end personnel, and I think McCarthy won't run much 3 wide receiver sets.
Exactly, because you're gonna have
it makes sense.
Who are you gonna put out there? Jalen Brooks and Ryan Flanoy or Ferguson, Jake Ferguson?
Well, let's have Jake Ferguson or my motherfucker Hunter Lepke.